everyone. It's fabulous to have you here for a little bit of online learning about online learning. I want to commence by just acknowledging today the immense power that I have in this circumstance, and I'm not talking about the learning environment that we've created today. I am talking about, I've come to believe that I have a superpower, and that superpower is all about being able to arrange for the local council to show up to do tree lopping at the park next door just by organising a webinar. So if you can hear a little bit of chainsaw action, a little bit of mulcher action in the background, that's what's going on. We've done sufficient work that we possibly can around the office today to limit the noise that you might have as background noise, but noise there may be nevertheless, so apologies for that. Hey, it's wonderful to have you here. This is actually the highest registrations we've had for a Real Learners webinar in some time now, which tells me that we've tapped into something here that people are looking to do but aren't yet. And I think that people are looking to do it but they haven't yet because it feels complicated. It feels like it's a really difficult step to do. It feels like I'm about to step into a skill set that I don't have, and I want to put that fear at ease immediately today. Every single person who is attending this webinar today can arrange online learning for the people that you lead and that you work with. You just need to know some of the basics, and that's where we're going to work from today. And what I would like to begin with today are those very basics. So what I want to speak to momentarily today is just to point out that there's a little strap line on the headline of this webinar today, which is that we're looking to reduce confusion, improve performance, and maximize engagement. And that's the purpose that we're looking for today. And I want to talk to 4 key areas that you need to keep in mind. And the first one is around taking aim, and that's around very much being clear about what the purpose is for the online learning that you are conducting, designing, and implementing. And what you'll notice within that strap line is that nowhere in there does it say, just make it easier for you. So I want to point out to you that while it may seem complicated to step into online learning, and I want to allay that fear and say it's not, I also want to let you know that there's a bit of work involved. There's a little bit of, there's a little bit of gumption, a little bit of hard work, a little bit of design, a little bit of deep thinking involved in making it work for you. And if you do that, then 3 of the clear benefits for others can be you reduce confusion in the people that you're working with. And let's be really honest about confusion and why it happens. Confusion often happens because education can sometimes occur in businesses and organisations as a hit and miss opportunity. We run a workshop or we deliver a seminar, and what happens is people come along and we hope that we have scheduled at a time when they're going to be able to listen really effectively, that they don't have anything else in their mind, that they're feeling fantastic. And if those things aren't true, if we run a seminar at a time where they're feeling a significant amount of work pressure, where perhaps they're having some challenges even at home and in their personal lives, and they've also coming out the other end of the flu, then the likelihood that they will miss rather than hit in the learning environment that we've created is much higher. And so what we do when we take that learning opportunity online is we allow people to access it when they're at their best, and that reduces their confusion by increasing their understanding. We want to be able to improve performance, and for me this is one of the fabulous aspects of online learning, is that online learning allows me to track, and I'll talk about this again as we go a little deeper into the webinar, but it allows me to track the way people respond to the learning, which I think is the purpose of it in the first place. So when I said at the start there that this isn't about making life easier for you, you'll notice that the 3 statements in that strapline there are all about them, are all about the people that you're hoping to help learn. And improving their performance should be one of the key elements that sits really deeply within your educative purpose for taking learning online. And maximising engagement is also a really big. Now I think that if I speak to a fellow thought leader, incredibly clever guy who who is building a practice around helping people to be able to achieve high performance through effort. I've got a fellow called Dan Collins, and he knows a little bit about effort and high performance, Dan, because Dan is an Olympian, a 3-time Olympian, and actually won a silver medal at the Sydney Olympics in kayaking. And he reckons we've overdone engagement. We're talking about engagement all the time, but we have absolutely no idea what we're talking about. And I really listened to that because I thought, I use the word engagement a lot. What do I mean by it? What I mean by engagement is the people that you're working with, listening, speaking, thinking, or doing. 4 things, that's all. Listening, speaking, thinking, or doing. And here's what happens when we go back to that traditional way of learning, if we're running a workshop or building a seminar, is that people do the one thing that kills the opportunity to do all 4 of the things that comprise engagement. And we make them wait. We make them wait for the learning to start, we make them wait for the learning to end, and we make them wait for the next opportunity to learn to come around. And in those moments when we're compelled to wait, we distract ourselves with other things. If you think about yourself going to a doctor's surgery and you sit down in the waiting room, I wonder how long it is until you pick up your phone, because there's nothing else to engage you in listening, speaking, thinking, or doing. So what we're talking about when we're on about maximising engagement is upping the percentage of people who need to learn in your organisation, who are actively at all times that learning is provided, listening, speaking, thinking, or doing. And through those 4 pursuits, we get some really fabulous outputs. And that's what I want to speak to very shortly when I get to the point around the benefits of taking learning online. So when I talk about why, when I talk about the frames, the mindsets that you need to have in place, the one that I want you to consider first up is to know that you're not a knowledge sprinkler. And what I mean by that is that learning online is about the recipient, not the deliverer. It's not merely about standing at the front of the room when you deliver a workshop and sort of spraying your knowledge across people in the hope that some of it sticks and is absorbed. We're not taking that methodology and merely shifting it to an online platform so that you can more easily spray people. That's not what it's about. Shifting to delivering learning online should be about a distinct shift between it being about you, from it being about you, and across to it being entirely about them and their engagement. So our purpose first is around making sure that we are getting them to listen, speak, think, and do as a result of taking our learning across to online, about taking it online. If all we're doing is creating an environment where we're taking the same slides from the workshop and just built a voice PowerPoint and sent it out to people, then we're not doing online learning. If all we do is go to online learning and we unpack a manual for people in that environment so that they can watch it at a moment they might be having a glass of wine with 3 kids running around their feet, and they're not really going to engage in that anyway, but they can actually tick off that they participated, then their engagement is incredibly low because their distraction is high. We're talking about saying, can we make it about them and not about us? And so to that effect, I want to begin by compelling you around that today. Is to say you don't just be sprinkled today. Don't allow yourself today to put yourself in a position where you're watching a TV show, where you're just receiving learning. I really want to encourage you to actively step forward today. So what I mean by that is I want you to use the control panel. I'm going to give you some ideas today that are going to start from very basic, and you may be looking to go and take a step beyond basic. You may be looking to take a step from the complicated back to basic, and that's a good question to talk about because I think that it's something that will be of distinct service to the rest of the room when you're doing that today. So what I want you to do is to use that control panel. A couple of ways you can do it. One is you can put your hand up. Now I'm talking about very much old school classroom practices here, aren't I? So if you look on your control panel, you'll see it. Something looks like the palm of a hand. And what you can do is put your hand up and I can see you. So for instance, if you can, you're not going to be compelled. Don't panic here, okay? Put your hand up for me now and see if I say your name. It's like one of those old TV shows, isn't it? Put your hand up for me. There, Ian's whacked his hand up. Susie's whacked her hand up. You know, Jill's whacked her hand up. So I can see you. And then what you can also do is put your hand down. And that way I know that you're not getting a sore arm and I don't need to call upon you. If you put your hand up, then what I can do is unmute you. and we can have a quick chat about that direction that you're going. Are you looking to walk to or from the basics of online learning? And I think that will be of amazing service to the other people who are on the webinar today. Now, if you're feeling shy, you'll see either a question or a chat box in the control panel today, and you can put your question in there. I'll have a little look occasionally. You might see me pause, or you might see the mouse move on the screen, and you'll know that I'm having a quick look to see if there are any questions or chat items in my own GoToWebinar control panel. And at the next opportunity, I'll stop and we'll have a bit of a chew on that question. So really want you to be determined to practice what we are both preaching today, and to step into being active participants who are listening, speaking, thinking, or doing. And I think today I'm trying to encourage some of that speaking and doing. All right, so where do I come from in this webinar today? I'm talking about online learning for cave dwellers. So I'm talking about the fact that you don't already have access to an advanced learning management system that your organisation has paid many, many dozens of thousands of dollars for. I'm going to take the assumption that you're just a curious person who says, you know what, I don't have many tools. I don't have a lot here available to me, but this notion of taking learning online intrigues me. So you do not need an expensive platform to commence with online learning. You do not need any sort of degree in educational design either, and nor do you need to partner with a university or an education provider in order to be able to get that information out to people. They're nice tools, they can make it easy, there's a lot of bells and whistles, but if you've got the basics, if you've got a few rocks lying around that you can use to be able to create the pieces that you need, then you can make online learning happen. Now, what would be some of those basics, for instance? One would be a laptop or a computer of some sort. The two options are things that apps that you may download to be able to, for instance, record either a video or a voiced PowerPoint, things like ScreenR, or the one that I like to actually use is one that's been around for quite a while now. I don't know about you, but my favourite tools in my shed are my oldest ones, and the one that I've had for quite a while now on my laptop is an app called Voila, which works particularly well with the Mac platform. And all it does is allow you to screen record either sections of your screen or your whole screen, and it allows you to create a really elegant and simple savable file that you can drop into anything like, for instance, iMovie, and you can make it look a little prettier if that's your way, if you're so inclined to do so. So in terms of tool number one, all you really need is a laptop and an app like ScreenR or Voila. The second thing that you'll need to get started is something like a YouTube or a Vimeo account. So just a place that you can put that learning, place that you can put that video that you want people to be able to access. With YouTube, for instance, I do this a lot with the clients and the schools that I work with, and we take little chunks of video, we pop it into a specially arranged YouTube channel, and we create only private links so that the videos can't be searched for, so it's a protection of your intellectual property in that regard. Only people who have the link that we created, so therefore only people that we send the link to, are able to go and access that video. And the third thing that I would suggest as another rock that you need is SurveyMonkey. So with a simple survey, you can create a way for people to be able to respond to the learning in a way that lets you make the secondary response. And therefore, the final tool that you will need is your legs. Great online learning. The fourth element here is leg power, which means that once you read what people have said about their online learning experience, once you read what it is that they now know and can do as a result of their online learning experience that you've created, you want to go talk to them. You want to go have a chat. Because, as I'll mention again very shortly, one of the things that I love about online learning is its tendency towards adjustment. Its tendency towards me being able to find out what the gaps are for people so that I can talk to them about it and they can close them. When I watch people close gaps as a leader, something really remarkable happens. I get to thank and congratulate them. I get to say, well done. That's really impressive isn't it great that we found that out and that we addressed it so quickly and neatly together, and that we're now on the other side of that barrier in your work. How good's that? Because the opportunity to thank and congratulate people is pretty much the only way you can build trust in an organisation. And can I say that trust is something that you can build through online learning? Doesn't that sound odd? But it's also something that you leverage within online learning. The high trust organisation, when you know that your people are going to access this online learning that you're creating and that they're going to engage with it at a really high level and they're going to value it, that's when the rubber really hits the road and some really fantastic things start to happen. So we're really going back to basics here, cave dweller stuff. And what are you going to get out of it? The first thing that I want you to know that you're going to get is an opportunity to deliver education once to many. So you can create an online learning module, for instance, for new employees. It could go out to every existing employee in an organisation, but it could also then be very easily an induction tool. So as people come into your organisation, you don't have to run the workshop again, you don't have to run the seminar again, you don't have to reprint the manual again. You just provide them the links to where you want them to go, so that you know that their induction has happened effectively. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, what you also get is that opportunity to capture IP. So when you have talent within your organisation, sometimes improvement is highly dependent on the location or the presence of that talent. And what we're saying is, with all that talent flying around in your organisation like butterflies, wouldn't it be great if we caught some of it? If we said, that is a piece of absolute genius, let's capture that and let's make that available to other people, because you're the genius. So it means that when you've got those people who are just freaks at stuff, who are just, you know that there's a great way to get something done, but this person is just the king of it. So for instance, I had a teacher in one of the schools where I was a principal, and he was the greatest maths teacher you've ever seen in your life. Some of you might have seen one of the latest edu celebrities is a fellow called Eddie Wu. And this guy was my Eddie Wu. He was just, his ability to explain maths concepts with such simplicity that the most difficult things could be understood by a 6-year-old, as Einstein would compel him to do anyway, was extraordinary. And so we just got him to record some of it. Could you just just give us a little clip of how you show kids how to multiply fractions? And that way, I couldn't have done it. I was the principal of the school. I'm supposed to be the master educator, but this person just had this skill down pat. And so it allowed me to capture that amazing genius in my organisation in a way that others could. Who had moved on. It allows us to mitigate this, oops, I missed that moment. And this can often become for people in a busy organisation a great excuse. So people, we have expectations of our people that they will implement a certain new process. I say, oh yeah, I missed that meeting where that got talked about, or that was the day that I was at the dentist, or I wasn't feeling very well that day, or oops, I missed that one, and therefore I can't do it. The great part about capturing IP online is that it's very simple for you at the end of a meeting to look around and go, okay, these are the people who've missed this opportunity. They need to get this little clip, and they need to also get this little link that's going to ask them what it is they understand about that. There's a fabulous, when you take people online, there's a fabulous opportunity for everyone to pause and review. So that means if you don't get it, if you're watching something, you go, yeah, okay, that's particularly tricky. I don't really understand that. I need to watch that again. So you need to pause, contemplate, and go back as far as you need to in order to attain a higher level of mastery over what's being delivered to you, which is incredibly valuable and certainly something that you don't get in a workshop. I worked with the incredible Richard Hodge, who's a friend of ours here at Real Learners, and we delivered some work to the Australian Navy, which was an entire raft of new seaworthiness regulations. And some of it's pretty complicated stuff. Some of it's in-depth, some of it's complex, some of it's changes, some of it's contextual. And we knew full well that running a great big seminar with 2,000 19-year-old new trainees and giving them the 150 PowerPoint slides that we needed them to understand to be able to adapt to these new regulations was likely to be a flawed learning methodology. So we broke it up, we took it online, and the feature of it that they reported as being the most valuable to them was undoubtedly the ability to pause and rewind and have a go at it again. And the next thing that it does here is something that I think people often miss in terms of the benefits of online learning, is that it allows you to design pathways for people. You might, in the end, have up to a couple of hundred mini online courses that are just one video, one survey, make your link. Watch the video, answer these questions, and then we will know that you have a certain level of mastery over this key competency within our organisation. And when a certain person comes into your organisation, you might be able to say, okay, for people who have come in at this rank, people who have come in with this particular area of expertise that they need to work within, people who've come in with a certain type of responsibility, we can say you're going to need to do the first 8 modules that we've designed. You're also going to need to do module 27, 41, 53, 107, and you need to do the last 3 because they're ones that we mandate for absolutely everyone in the organisation. You can pathway the learning that they need so that you maximise the relevance for the people that are on the other end of the learning. And that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool not to waste people's time. There's a high level of respect that comes with that when you say to people, we're not going to sit you through learning that's irrelevant to you. There are certain things we all need. There are certain things that only you need, and thereby there are certain things that you don't need, and we're not going to waste your time with that. So it becomes a really fabulous learning methodology that everybody in your organisation can say this is better than it was previously. And they're the benefits that are sitting right in front of you if you're ready to take them on. Okay, so how do you get it going? What do you want? What are you going to do? The first one is the capture part of it. So that means about taking aim. It means what you need to do is to be able to be very clear on the purpose for why you are taking something online. And the one I mentioned before was content delivery, and I mentioned that because there's a little word of warning there, which is that online learning is not just so that we can take content that we've been delivering another way and chuck it online so that I never have to deliver it again. Again, like I said, it's for us, not for them. And so if that's why you're thinking about online learning, then I really want you to pay attention to the second point today that I'll come to in just a few minutes. Content delivery is a valid way of stepping into online learning, but you've got to do it artfully. You've got to do it carefully, and you've got to do it in a way that maximises engagement. If you can do that, then you can use online learning really effectively for content. The second thing, the reason you might take something online is for instruction. There's a process, there's something that they need to do. And this is where you might step outside in terms of the way that you're capturing that work into the field. So if you're asking people how to strip down an engine for an engineering firm, you don't want to be showing them that in a PowerPoint slide deck. You want to be having someone stripping down an engine in front of them and just talking them through it, talking through the steps that they're following. So instruction is fantastic for when you need to teach process to people. I think that we forget often that there's a fabulous opportunity to increase inspiration through online learning. And what that means is that you're dealing with not just the neocortex, so the thinking component of our brain, but you are wrapping that up. You are maximising the neocortex engagement through engaging the limbic system or the feelings part of their brain more effectively. I loved to be able to just occasionally voice a video of myself and send it out to the people that I was leading. Often that was in my time as a principal, and what I would do after that is just send out a quick question by email, sometimes even as simply as that. And the quick question was just, what did you get out of that? And they sometimes it was, Adam, that was a really boring one, don't do that to me again. And sometimes it was, you know what, that really actually changed my perspective on my week. And people perform differently as a result of that enhanced or changed perspective. So don't lose sight of the opportunity to take the benefit of inspiration that can come from online learning. MOOCs, massive open online courses, are something that most major universities around the world have experimented with, inspired by approaches like the Khan Academy to take learning online. They've gone, man, we have to have an online learning course. And some of the dropout rates on MOOCs are as high as 80, 90 and 95%. And the reason is it's the absence of the human element. They're not inspired. We love learning with other people. And so when you wrap a little bit of affect around that, you mitigate the fact that online learning can be something of a lonely experience occasionally. And you also just, you just show them that you're there. You show them that you're there, and you let them know that we are actually learning together, because I'm invested not just in the content getting to you, but I'm invested in you feeling good about that content arriving. The next one's capacity building. So you might have a particular capability that you want your people to be able to have. So, which is a little bit different, a little bit of a shift on the instructional part where we're teaching process. This is about teaching capacity. They might know the process, but can they deliver it with passion? Can they deliver it with a high level of mastery? So for instance, if you're delivering a sales process that you want people to be able to understand, it's then saying, okay, now you've got the head straight, how are you going to get the heart bit right? You know, what are you going to have going on in the background that you connect emotionally to people, because that's the capacity level that you'll need to be at in order to double your sales effectiveness. And then for me, one of the things that I think our values are something that most organisations pay lip service to. They decide that we want to stand for this, and so therefore it goes on letterheads. Sometimes it goes up on walls. Sometimes we have a special offsite, and because we value adventure, we need to take everyone out and they have to do a high ropes course. I think that online learning is a fantastic way to get people to think about how they are going to make those values behavioural. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. The second thing I want you to keep in mind, the second quadrant of the 4 things that make online learning a truly effective way to go to work, is about creating and delivering artfully. So what I want you to do is not just go, this video is all about how you can understand our marketing plan in our business. Okay, come on. You know, can you think about the way that you want learning to be experienced for yourself? What's the level of inspiration? What's the level of challenge? What's the level of even entertainment that you're going to need to be able to make that learning stick? The greatest teachers that we remember, we would never describe them as being dry and content driven. We would describe them as being inspirational and the kind of people that make us want to get up and get out of our seats. And you can bring that thinking to the way that you do online learning. A couple of little things you can do that maximise the engagement of people who are receiving, for instance, one of those voice PowerPoints or a video or the engine being stripped in the field, is number one, divulge the why, which means what I want you to do at the start of any video you create is tell people why this video exists. And the why needs to connect to them, not to you. So it needs to be about, why is this video going to be of benefit to you? Not just, I am delivering this video because I want you to know this. It's about, I'm going to deliver this video to you because this is going to help you transform your work to be more effective and less stressed by dealing with this particular omnipresent component of your work more effectively. What I want you to do also is to establish relevance. Okay, so that means that you do not create an online learning program and access people to it if they don't need it. We have to show them that there is a high element of work relevance there. Third thing here, this is the one that people often get a bit stuck on, which is I want you to choose your pedagogy. Now, pedagogy is a word that we educators who work in schools tend to use a lot, and when we do, we end up with, you know, creased up noses and scrunched up faces from the people that we're talking to. It's like, what's that weird edu-speak word? And PEDA obviously refers to kids, and the GOGI is the learning methodology that you use. So what's your learning methodology? When I'm speaking to an adult learning environment, I have 2 particular steps in my pedagogy. Incredibly complicated, isn't it? There should be 2 steps in a pedagogy. Number 1 is make sure my points are important. So I don't make peripheral points in the way that I want to in my learning. And number 2, if it's important enough to be spoken to, tell a story. So you've heard me mention times from my career already today, and times that I've worked with various different clients already. If the point's important and you want it to land, you have to wrap context around it. And for me, that's why I choose a pedagogy, which is make only important points and tell a story about each one. Propel action. So I want you to make sure that people after the video are not sitting there going, great, I watched the video, I'm done. There is always something next to do when you are participating in an online learning opportunity, and that means you've got to end abruptly. So when you tell people that the next thing I need you to do is to go to this link that we have provided for you, you can see it at the bottom of the screen, and from there you'll be answering 3 particularly important reflection questions, so that you, your line manager, and the facilitators of our online learning can know where we can help you next. And then shut up. You do not need to put credits on the end of your video. You do not need to say, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate the last 12 minutes that you have provided us with. Because what that does is it provides punctuation. It provides a full stop that has people think that they're finished. It's a little bit like the odd Western custom of applause, which pretty much says, yay, we're done. And they're not. At the end of the piece that you've provided people in video, people are certainly not finished. So really important that you make sure that you end abruptly and that you don't provide punctuation. Don't make people think the video was all they really needed to do. Part 3 is ask better questions. And I want to point out, when I was designing my online opportunity today, I looked at which picture I was going to use for this slide. And I thought, okay, so there was a fabulous picture that I found that was very Shutterstocky of a woman in a workplace who was being asked a question by a boss. And there were lots of question marks that had been really cleverly graphically put on the screen. I found another one that had a row of people that looked like they were in a learning environment, and then a little question mark above their head, and they were all looking particularly curious. The reason I chose this picture is because when I go back to what I meant by engagement, listening, speaking, thinking, or doing, when it gets to the question part, and like I mentioned before, all you really need to do is to create a crazy quick survey monkey question if you don't have any other way to do it. What it needs to create is the look on this young woman's face. You know, the look on this girl's face when she's being asked a question by someone who I presume is her dad. Because this is the face of engagement. This is the face of interest. This is the face of a complete absence of distraction. This is someone who's really cued into whatever it is that's being asked. So there are 3 levels of questions that I want you to consider. Number 1 is, did it land? Okay, so that means you're going to ask a question after any online learning module that will prove that they participated. So it's going to be a content-based question. It's going to be a knowledge-based question. It's going to be a question that says, you know, name the 3 points that were outlined around an effective sales process. And you need to know that they participated in it, because you can't get up to using or designing with that knowledge unless you know they have it in the first place. The next question is about, can they use it? So I like to ask what I call an application level question. So that's a question that says, in your area of work, in your area of expertise, in your area of responsibility, what will you do with this knowledge? What are you going to change? And then they go, oh, that's fantastic, and we're going to put a plan in place, we're going to do this with that. And that's great, because you now have something to go and talk to people about. You've got something you can go, you know, great, okay, this person is using this to create a brand new process that they're going to deliver to 8 people. Okay, you get to go and check in on them and say, hey, how's that going with that new process you're going to deliver, and getting that in the hands of the 8 people in a way that they understand. And you get to support them, thank and congratulate them, high trust organisation, happy days for everybody. But as Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. I'm going to make it very clear, this is the last time I'll be taking any advice, particularly intellectual or moral, from Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And therefore, I think it's really important to provide a design or a scenario-based question, which is that, yeah, but what if question. So I like to ask them, given that you have a customer come into the store who for the 3rd time wants to return a particularly expensive item, how would the principles that we've just learned about in this module for dealing with conflict and emotions be of use to you? So provide them with something that just comes out of the blue and see if they can use it in an effective way. And can I say, their answers to this question, to this scenario or design level question, will be particularly curious to you. Because this is sometimes when we get in that situation where we go, okay, so they got it and they know what to do with it, but they do that. So you need to know that whatever it is you're providing stands up at the highest level end. And that's the stuff that comes out of the blue. Will they stick to that principle, or will they fold and go back to old defaults? And again, that's a powerful driver of feedback and of wonderful conversations that can happen after the event. So hugely important to make sure that you're asking better questions. And then the 4th thing I want you to do when you're looking to go online with your learning is to pursue adjustment, not judgment. So what I mean by that is that you're not running in your organisation online learning for the purpose that we might in schools with, unfortunately, the NAPLAN program. So because the NAPLAN program is about judgment. We run it because we want to know where these kids are at. I want to know who's above benchmark, who isn't, how many, how far below, how far above. I want to be able to pigeonhole them. I want to be able to put them here, and I want to be able to hold them accountable to that, hold somebody accountable to that. And that's not what online learning should be about. Online learning should be, first of all, about leading to an action by the leader, by the person who creates this online module, to coach. It's an opportunity to help people to get better, not an opportunity to judge people for where they currently are now. So online learning as a snapshot is really a poor alternative. And what I mean by that is you just don't know when they wrote those questions, when they answered those questions or watched the video. Just like in a workshop, you don't know if they're having a tough time at home, if they are running on the sleep of having a newborn in the house, or if they're battling a sore throat that day. You've got no idea. So what we do is we take that information as just a snapshot, not to judge, to say this is who this person is and where they're at, but this is an opportunity for me to coach somebody into another level, which means that part of our design is around gap identification. So it's about when we ask those three types of questions, we can see where people are at in their understanding. Do they have the basics? Can they use the basics? And then can they use them under pressure? And we often go, okay, so the gap here is that they actually don't get the basics. So this happened to me recently. I was working with a school who are trying to implement a particular approach to student behaviour, and I've been working with them on it for 3 years. And they often come back to me and say, yeah, it's just so hard to get these teachers on side. This is a religious school, it's an Islamic school, very traditional people, and sometimes can be very stuck in their ways. And it's just so hard to get these teachers to actually shift their mindset. And we've shifted our mindset, and we've made this philosophical decision to go into a brave new world, and we just don't understand why these people don't come with us. And I put the basics back up on the screen, the one slide that I showed them 3 years ago, but I removed the words and just left the first letters. So I just said, so this is the basics of what we've worked on for 3 years. I said, with some key bits missing. Just the letters at the beginning of each of the words on the master slide. So can anyone here tell me what these words are, what's missing? And what they realised was they didn't know most of them. So the gap that they had identified was in the knowledge base. It was actually the first part, the first question, that really content-based question, that they didn't have it. And that gap needs to be filled if they want to look confident enough in front of other people that the people who they're asking to shift will follow them. So really important that they're able to that you take on the notion of identifying gaps wherever they might be. It might be a knowledge gap, it might be an application gap, it might be a design gap. But let's spot it and let's move, because what you do when you move is you identify growth opportunities. So you see where it is that a person could be more effective for you. And can I say, when you go online and you find out sometimes who your quiet achievers are. So, in a workshop, they might sit there and not ask any questions. They might not create a scene. They might not even provide you with their best ideas. It might be just because they've got some introvertive tendencies. But when you take it online, sometimes they give you 3 sets of answers to your questions, and you go, oh my goodness, this person is actually a maestro. This person has this down pat. I should be using this person. And what we mean by that is we're about to make mentors of them. That's a growth opportunity. The adjustment that we're looking to make is also about support. So it's not about judgment. It's about being able to step in under these people so that they can improve. And that means providing, even metaphorically, I guess, those supports, putting those support structures under them. And what that means is that our focus is not so much about whether you are at a certain level or not. It's about how much progress you're making. Are you stepping up through those questions, or are we spotting areas that you would need to go and get some progress in a different area to be able to come back and learn again more effectively in this key area that we've presented to you? And when people progress, And when people see that they're moving forward, that they're knocking things on the head and their understanding's growing and they're being more successful as a result, there's just nothing more motivating. We can rah-rah, we can jump up and down, we can try to inspire, but the truth is there's nothing more inspiring than achievement. And that's what I think sits deeply behind the intention to take learning online. It's not about you making delivery easier for you. It's about being relentless in our pursuit of higher levels of achievement for other people. He takes a breath and sips a water and mentions that he has been talking incredibly quickly about one topic for a really long period of time. I'm going to, I guess what I want to do here is just remind you of a couple of things to finish up today. And while I'm doing that, I'm wondering if you do have any questions. So have a think about that question box and the chat box there. I'm just having a quick look to see, again, doing my scans to see if there's anyone with a hand up or a question in there. And it's cool if you don't, but if you've got one, don't let it be unasked. Is my compulsion to you today. The next webinar that we're going to run, our April webinar, is going to be all about what you do with that information. How do you coach them? And it's not just coaching them to know something, it's coaching them to learn something. And when you've got that learning imperative within the way that you coach people, what happens is it transforms more effectively and in a more accelerated kind of way to changes and improvement in performance. And so if you're interested in how you can lead others in the one-on-one scenario by being able to coach them to learn more effectively, this webinar is going to be right up your alley. So give that one some thought. Would love to have you along at that one. The other thing I want you to do today is to download the slide deck. So I've provided a little prezi for you today. If you look in the handout section of your GoToWebinar control panel, the slide deck's sitting there. All yours, guys, all yours. What I would like you to do is to not just know how you can do online learning, but I want you to have a go. So can I suggest that having that slide deck in your hot little hand would be a fabulous way of being able to give yourself the chance to give it a crack, have a real turn at this and see what it is that you can do with it. Hey, if there's anything else that I can do to be of assistance to you in your amazing work, thank you, Alan. I very much appreciate your elevating of me to legendary status. That's lovely of you. Anything else that we can do to give you a hand, then please reach out. Okay, you can get in touch with us by the phone number there and also by the web sites and the email addresses that are available there to you. And I reckon that will just about do us. I'm just going to check. Michelle, it's lovely of you to second the legendary status. I feel very elevated now and may be incapable of getting my head out of the office thanks to the compliments that are coming my way. Much appreciated. Hey everyone, have a fantastic end of the week. Go do some online learning. You've got all the tools you need. You're not a caveman any longer. You are an online learning guru. Have a ripper.